Wow, do I feel good today. How's everybody doing? Okay, it's got to be better than that. Listen, President Shapeberger, thank you so much to all of your leadership. It's great to be with you now. Firefighters actually understand that even when you have 9 inches of snow on the ground, it doesn't stop the show. And so that's why I'm here today and here to be with you, because I know that you've talked a lot about public policy. And we could talk about that. We could talk about how important it is to stand up for the rights of your workers, of you, to bargain collectively, because we know that when you join together to bargain for your rights in the workplace, it's a better deal for the employer, it's a better deal for you. We could stand here, we can talk about how important it is for the federal government to be a partner when it comes to providing resources to local communities to make sure that first responders are able to communicate with each other, have the most sophisticated equipment, are able to do your job. We could stand here and talk about how important it is to make certain that you have the ability to negotiate with your local elected officials about whether you are going to have health care and a safe working place. We can talk about all of those things, but you know what? Part of me didn't come here today to talk about public policy. I came to talk turkey and I came to talk politics, because I'm going to tell you that what is going on right now in this city, in this town, is not fair to working people. And whether you're talking about working people who work for the lowest wages in our economy, or those who bargain for their wages and for their rights, it is not a good deal for middle-class Americans. And so the politics that I want to talk about is the politics of change. Now, in 2010, we saw one kind of change, and we've had to live through that in the House of Representatives since then. And what that has meant is that every single time I sit in my committee on transportation and infrastructure, almost every single time, I have to fight for prevailing wage, fight for Davis-Bacon, fight for worker protections, fight for safe workplaces. And you know what? We should not be arguing with Democrats for sure, but we sure shouldn't be arguing with Republicans either about the importance of protecting our workplaces for our workers. And yet that is what has happened since 2010, since those other guys took control of the Congress. I want to talk politics because I think there's something that we can do about it, but we can't do it without you. I know that in my community, our fighters know that when they stand on the side of working people, even the lowest wage workers, that makes a difference to you when you bargain collectively. I've watched what's happened out in Maryland, in Prince George's and Montgomery County, when our firefighters have stood with other public sector workers when the opposition wants to divide and conquer you. And President Shapeberger, I want to thank you, because we know that that happens all the time. Everybody wants to get warm and cozy and fuzzy and get a great photo op with our firefighters. You've been there, right? Haven't you? And so what happens is that they then use that to try to divide and conquer working people, to divide and conquer the labor movement. And we cannot afford for that to happen. And so what I have watched with firefighters all across this country, from Maryland to Wisconsin, across the country, is that you've said, you know what, we're more sophisticated than that. Because if they try to divide us from other public sector workers, the next time they're coming after us. And so I want to thank you for that, because it makes a difference in our work as public policy makers, but it really makes a difference in our communities. Now, we're having a big fight in Maryland right now about minimum wage. Now, how many of you firefighters make minimum wage? None of you, right? And the reason that you don't is because you have the ability to negotiate with your employers. Well, a lot of minimum wage workers don't have that. And yet it's firefighters, it's police officers, it is public sector workers, it is our organized workforce that organizes in the private sector that's actually stood with minimum wage workers, because you understand that the fight for the minimum wage is also the fight for your wages. Because when that wage base is low, when that wage base is at the bottom, it makes it really difficult for you to negotiate at the top end. And so I want to thank you for that. But 2014 is going to be a different playing field. And you know what? We need everybody engaged. How many of you did every single thing that you needed to do in 2012 to make sure that Democrats could take control of the House of Representatives? Raise your hand, stand up. You can take credit for it. You did every single thing that you could. Kevin, did you do everything you could?
For my member of Congress.
You did. I like that. You know, did every single thing that you could. Well, you know what? I'll bet you there's not a one of us in the room, and I'm going to raise my hand, who did every single thing that I could to make sure that I had a Congress, a House of Representatives in the United States that stood for working people, that stood for middle-class people, that stood for collective bargaining, that understands the challenges that middle-class families are facing, those who are working and those who want to work. And so I promised myself that after that 2012 election, I was going to do things differently. I was going to stand up differently. I was going to fight differently. I was going to make that last phone call even when I felt like I couldn't make a phone call. I said to myself that no matter how many doors I knocked on and how many doors were closed, I would knock on another one just to see if it would open. I said that to myself in 2012. And the reason that I did is because I look at what is happening to middle-class families all across this country, and I am sickened. I am sickened by the idea that we have a Congress, a majority and control in the Congress that doesn't understand our lives, that doesn't understand what it means to get up in the morning, go to a job, take care of yourself and your family, send your kids to college, send your kids to trade schools, send your kids to an apprenticeship, doesn't understand what it means to get up in the morning and to pay a mortgage, doesn't understand what it means to come to the end of the month and have to piece things together and decide whether it makes sense to pay the electric bill or the oil bill, or whether it makes sense to pay the water or the daycare. And I said to myself that come 2014, I will do every single thing possible to make certain that what happens in 2014 in November is not what happened in 2012. I need you, every single one of you, to be with me on that. I was with firefighters just a couple of days ago, and they said they were talking about the kinds of things that they were going to do in our communities in Prince George's and in Anne Arundel County to make certain that not only did we have some members of Congress who understand what you face in your workplace and the challenges that you face and what you face in your communities, but that we would do that to make sure that that was true in our governor's office, that we would do that to make sure that that is true in our state legislature. So we have a lot of work to do, and frankly, we cannot do it without you. We can't do it without you, and it isn't just about writing a check. In some ways, I mean, and I hate to say this standing up here, David, but I tell you what, in some ways, I know that it's actually easier to write a check. It's easy to write a check, send that check away, and then hope and pray, cross your fingers that the person that you supported and that you elected will win that office, and then will do the right thing when they get there. But you know what? I'm going to tell you that that is not enough. Not only do we need your leadership in every single state, in every single congressional district, but we need your leadership because it takes more than just writing a check. It takes knocking on those doors and making those phone calls, but it's about what happens after the November election that's really important. And I know that all of you know that. I know that you do. And so I'm going to ask you for a favor, and it's a big one. So I've been recruitment chair for the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee this year, and we've recruited, with a lot of your help, almost 60 candidates who are running in congressional districts all across this country. As a Democrat, I know that when the gavel is returned to Democrats, that we're going to do right by working people. But frankly, we cannot do that without your help. We can't do it without you standing on the front lines in the same way that you stand on the front lines in every single community across this country. But you know what? We could all just take a nap. We could all just, write our checks. We could all just, hope and pray and cross our fingers, and that will not get the job done. And so I'm counting on you, and our candidates across the country are counting on you. And this isn't really about, in some ways, is it going to be a D or an R? You know what? As a Democrat, I care about that. But what I care about most is that whatever that letter is that's after that name, that it's somebody who's willing to stand up for working people. It's somebody who's willing to stand up and say, you know what? We do need to raise the wage base in this country, to close that gap of equality in this country. We do need somebody who's going to say, you know what, it's important for us to put federal resources in rebuilding our roads and our bridges and all of our infrastructure that so many of you have to travel across every single day. It's important for us to understand that there's an important role for the federal government in making sure that you have the equipment and the tools and the technology that you need to do your job and to keep you and your communities safe. But again, we could all go to sleep, but we can't do this without you. And so I need to know that when I leave today, that you're going to be with me. And so I'm just going to ask, really simply, are you going to be with me in 2014?
Absolutely.
Oh, it does not sound, no. That is so not good enough. That is just not good enough. Okay? And now I'm looking all the way at the back of the room, and I see somebody right back here with a blue shirt on. I see you with that cap on. Are you ready? Are you going to be with me in 2014? Oh, wait, whoa. Now, I want to know from the front of the room to the back of the room, are we going to be together for working people in 2014?
Yeah.
Now, that's more like it. That is more like it, because I'm going to tell you something. When we are together, when we stand together for working people, we can make sure that in 2014, from the Congress and the Senate to our state legislatures and our state capitals, that we have people in place who are willing to put themselves on the line in the same way that you put yourself on the line. And so let's stand together, knock on every single door that you can, make every single phone call that you can. And Kevin, make sure to write all those checks you can too. Thank you very much.